say they can't have a nuclear weapon.
All right, now joining us in the broadcast, we've got Mr. Ron Aledo, who's a former U.S. military officer, a former CIA contractor, and a former intelligence and operations officer at the Pentagon. He's currently the chief executive officer of the Miami Intelligence Agency. Mr. Aledo, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, there are statements that are coming out from Donald Trump. You know, sometimes he says we've got complete control over the Iranian skies, by saying that he seems to be suggesting that the Americans are also very actively involved in these attacks. And then he later goes on and says that he has not made up his mind on whether to join this war or not. In your assessment, looking as to how things are unfolding, what do you think is the level of American involvement in this war?
Well, I don't think that the United States was involved from the beginning. Just like Secretary Marco Rubio said on his statement. But I think that after the war began, then the United States is helping Israel, at least from the defensive viewpoint, like giving extra air defenses, providing some kind of intelligence and early warning to the missiles that Iran is launching at Israel. So I don't think that the United States was involved at the very beginning, but I think that obviously now they are, the United States is involved, at least from the defensive or passive, if you want to call it, way, helping into the defense of Israel. So I think that is involvement right now, happening right now.
Right, so the Americans are involved in the defense of Israel, so they're shooting down the Iranian ballistic missiles that are being fired at Israel. Now, I want to draw your attention to a report by the Wall Street Journal, which says that the air defense interceptors of the Israelis given by the Americans are running low in their supplies. We do not at this moment know as to how many ballistic missiles the Iranians actually have in their arsenal. But the fact that in the course of the last 6 days, the Israeli interceptors, which have done a pretty good job, they seem to be running low. What does that, indicate to you?
Well, I think that Iran have launched several waves of missiles, some of them very sophisticated missiles at Israel. And obviously, it's a very different game when you are defending from very rudimentary rockets that Hamas is sending at you, that when you are defending against very sophisticated missiles that Iran is sending. And it's sending many, many missiles. And obviously, that is right now having a cost, a very strong cost into the Israeli air defenses. I heard that Israel can only sustain this kind of defenses for about 2 to 3 weeks because right now they are expending so much, and these defenses are very very sophisticated, very expensive ones, and obviously they have to use it even if Iran is using a sophisticated missile or Iran is using a drone or is using another missile that is not so much sophisticated, they cannot tell.
Right.
So they have to shoot all their defenses, and that is causing right now the estimated depletion of the air defenses of Israel.
Right. Now, in just the last few hours, there are reports that have come in that the United States of America is moving its third aircraft carrier into the vicinity of the state of Israel. It is the USS Gerald Ford that is now being sent for the defense of Israel. Is this a preparation of the Americans who are trying to mobilize to try and enter into a war? Or is this more a sort of a defensive posturing to try just shoot down the Iranian ballistic missiles?
It can be one of the three things. It can be just intimidation. It can be just to intimidate and to play some kind of psyops into the Iranians, like we're here, we're ready to attack. But even perhaps the United States will not attack. Nobody knows. It can be also to play a more active role into the defensive shield around Israel, to reinforce the Iron Dome and to reinforce the air defenses, to take just a defensive posture and to make sure that less Iranian missiles reach their targets in Israel. Or the third option, it can be there as a preparation for offensive kinetic operations. That will be obviously when the United States attack directly Iran and joins Israel in offensive operations. Obviously, that will be the most dramatic of the three, and that will mean that Trump sent the United States military to join Israel into offensive operations. And that will be obviously the most dramatic of all options.
Right. Now, the American position has been shifting under Donald Trump. A week ago, he was talking about negotiations, even though Rising Line had been staged by the Israelis. But today he says something completely different. He says that his patience has worn out and that the deal it's difficult to see as to how negotiations can happen. Now, the Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has also said something important in his address to the nation, where he has said that Iran will not surrender and has warned that any U.S. military intervention will result in irreparable damage for the Americans in the Middle East. In your assessment, this hardening of the positions by both sides, is it just brinkmanship that is being said? And do you think behind the scenes there could be some back-channel talks that could be ongoing?
I think that the talks are still happening. I think that, I mean, not between Israel and Iran, they don't talk, but between the United States and Iran, there might be diplomatic negotiations happening. And as I say before, the main objective of this attack from Israel was to sabotage and stop the negotiations for a deal, for a diplomatic deal about the Iranian nuclear capabilities. But I still that at low level, perhaps there are still communications between the negotiators between the United States and Iran. You need to understand that Trump is under great pressure, during extreme pressure from the IPAC lobby, from the Congress, from a lot of the base of the Republican Party, the evangelical Christians, etc., that are putting a lot of pressure on him for him to join the military action against Iran. So there are some people in his administration, like Tulsi Gabbard, like the Vice President J.D. Vance, that are against this. But there are a lot of people who are pushing him to do that. And the threat that the Iranian leader said is, if you attack us, basically what he said is, we're going to attack the U.S. troops that are currently here in the Middle East. There are troops in Qatar, there are troops in Kuwait, Iraq, Syria. Also, those troops are in danger.
Right. Now, you've been a former intelligence officer, Mr. Aledo, and I want to draw your attention to a statement that Trump made in his interactions with the media when it was pointed out to him that Tulsi Gabbard, who is the chief of intelligence under Donald Trump's administration, in her assessment had said that Iran is nowhere near getting a nuclear weapon in the near future. He went on to state that he does not care what Tulsi Gabbard thinks. The fact that the American president is rebuffing in such a public manner the chief of the intelligence of the United States of America, what does that tell you? And who is now giving intelligence to Donald Trump if he's not willing to listen to his administration's chief intelligence officer?
Well, it's not about intelligence, it's about political and ideological pressure. Something very similar happened when George Bush was in power about 15 years ago. The intelligence agencies said to Congress, Iran is very, very far away from nuclear weapons. And then George Bush, obviously, he being an evangelical Christian, he be under pressure by the Israeli lobby, he said to the press, I cannot control what the intelligence say. So something similar here is happening right now. The intelligence community, the DIA, the CIA, the NSA, etc., they have an assessment based on facts and evidence and intelligence collected through all the sources, humid, SIGINT, Massing, etc. But the ideological faction, the politicians, the pressure from the Congress, from the evangelical Christians, from IPAC, from the Israeli government is pressuring Trump to change his course and attack Iran. So
Right.
he's not talking from an intelligence and evidence fact viewpoint. Tulsi Gabbard is. Tulsi Gabbard was, and he's talking based on evidence and based on intelligence. Trump is talking based on ideological position,
Right.
political position, and external pressure from Congress and from the Israeli lobby.
Indeed. Mr. Aledo, do continue to stay on with this. There's another important aspect that I want to discuss with you. Meanwhile, let's take a look at some breaking news that has come in, where the United Nations Security Council will convene on Friday to discuss the raging hot war between Israel and Iran. This, of course, would be the second session that has been requested for by Iran, and it has got support from Russia, China and Pakistan. Meanwhile, sources have revealed that foreign ministers of Germany, France, Britain and the top EU diplomats are also set to hold nuclear talks with their Iranian counterpart on Friday. All right, so this, of course, is the latest information that is coming in. We've got Mr. Ron Aledo, who is with us. Mr. Aledo, we were talking about the political pressures that Donald Trump is subject to. Now, the Republican Party, which has a very big faction, which is all about MAGA, Make America Great Again, wants to put American interests at the heart of America's foreign policy. So there are a lot of people within Donald Trump's followers who say that America should not be getting involved in a war that does not concern us. And then you also have individuals such as Ted Cruz, who was recently interviewed by one of the big MAGA journalistic intellectuals, Tucker Carlson, where he was asked what is the population of Iran, and he had no idea about it. What is the ethnic composition of Iran? He had no idea about it. But he is someone who is very enthusiastic about the United States jumping into this war against Iran. Why is it that we see these American politicians who have no idea about a nation but want to go on war against it?
There is a big divide within the Republican Party. There is the establishment Republican Party, let's call it that way, and these people basically they follow a globalist mindset. They follow a neocon, what is called the neocon interventionist mindset, and Ted Cruz, obviously, in the interview with Carson, was representing all these points. Also, Ted Cruz, as the same as many politicians and Congress members, Republican Congress members in Washington, received great amount of money from AIPAC, from the Israeli lobby, and they are under threat. You have to say what we told you to say. You have to vote like we told you to vote,
right,
or we will support your opponent. In the other hand, there are the paleo-conservative, non-interventionist people like Pat Buchanan, like Tucker Carlson, like Rand Paul, etc. And they are basically the base of the America First movement, of the MAGA movement, and they are opposed to interventions abroad. They want President Trump to focus all his attention, all his energy on solving the economic problems and social problems of the United States. So there is a big divide inside of the Republican Party between the neocons, globalists, against the paleo-conservative MAGA people right now.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Ron Aledo, for joining us with that perspective.